Huge, huge wake-up call for Texas A&M last Saturday as they went to the wire with the South Carolina Gamecocks. How are you feeling about the Aggies? Are you concerned? Are you confident moving forward? I've got my thoughts and my own analysis. Let's get right into this one. Howdy, howdy, fans of the 12th Man. Welcome into this Above the Yale podcast episode. I'm your host, Weston Pope. For those of you who have been here before, who have paid attention to the channel all season long, thank you for your commitment. Thank you for just the time that you've taken to watch the content here on this channel. For those of you who might just be stopping by to check it out, I encourage you to stay. I encourage you to look at previous videos that I've released this season. It's been a really, really fun year so far for our Texas A&M Aggies. It's been a huge blessing to cover this team this year. A lot of special things going on. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe to the channel with that little button down below, as I plan to really keep this thing rolling. It's been so much fun this season. Texas A&M will play their last regular season game in Kyle Field against the Samford Bulldogs this Saturday. Kickoff is set for 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Little fun fact here, Jimbo Fisher, previous head coach there at Texas A&M, he played at Samford as a quarterback in 1987. So there's just a little bit of skin in the game for this one. So I'm excited to see our Aggies take the field one last time for the regular season. And it's also senior day, a lot of seniors on this team, a lot of veteran guys, and I think that's a huge reason that this team has been so special this year. So shout out to each and every one of those seniors who have been a part of this team this year and a part of this special year. I've had several people in the last 3 to 4 days since this game concluded on Saturday. I've had several people ask me, "Man, what happened with Texas A&M? What was going on there in that first half?" And I think I've talked about it all season. The unpredictable and wild nature of college football could be studied for just endless days. I think for A&M, the issues they had there in the second half, I think when you're in a position that you maybe necessarily haven't been before, and you are finding some consistency at being in that position, I still think complacency can creep in a little bit. Not That's not to say that I don't think Texas A&M didn't know what they needed to do on Saturday, but you saw Texas A&M as a team just make some mistakes. You had turnovers, you had bad drops, and I think a lot of that. And Coach Elko said it earlier this week that the game started out pretty well. If you go back and watch the tape on that game, it did start out well. Marcel Reed and KC Concepcion connected on a deep ball on their very first offensive drive. That drive ended in 3 points. We're tied 3-3 with South Carolina. And then after that, things kind of slowly decline. You saw it from the team. The team knew what was going on, and they were really just trying a little bit too hard just to get back in the game. And then Mike Elko said it as well. At halftime, they just needed to get in the locker room, settle them down, and then just go back to playing Texas A&M football. And that's really what we saw in the second half. And as I was saying, with the current landscape of college football, it's really just hard to see teams anymore getting through the regular season without some sort of blemish on their record. Fortunately, A&M, I think, was able to learn their lesson on Saturday. And that lesson, I think, was learned without having to suffer a loss. They're very fortunate. Very, very easily could have been a blowout loss, and we could be sitting here having a totally different conversation. But going just back to last year, Ohio State, they had a phenomenal year. They ended up winning the national championship. Were extremely dominant in the playoffs. Now, obviously, I'm not saying A&M. I'm not really comparing A&M to Ohio State, but what I'm saying is Ohio State, they didn't even go into the playoffs blemish free. They lost to Michigan for the third or fourth time in a row under Ryan Day. And it was just they kind of stumbled to the playoff a little bit, I think some would say. But then obviously the rest didn't matter. The rest is history because they just completely took over football games and dominated teams that ultimately led to them winning the national championship. So for A&M, yeah, very lucky to get out of Saturday, still in the win column, sitting at 10-0 right now with the hopes of going 11-0 this weekend. Some might be concerned, but I think for me going forward, I actually feel better with where the Aggies are. As I said, it's just the wild and unpredictable nature of college football. There's no Saturday that's guaranteed. There's no win that's a guaranteed. Um, yeah, and Texas A&M there in that first half, we saw some of the worst football that we've seen from this team, and really some of the worst football that we've seen just from a Texas A&M team in quite some time. But fortunately, they had a championship level response there in the second half. Were able to come back and ultimately win it 31-30. I think in that game, you saw a lot of competitive stamina, just the resiliency, the don't blink mentality. It was just on full display, and that's extremely encouraging. That's culture. That's exactly, I think, the kind of team that Mike Elko wanted to put together and the mindset that he wanted to instill in these guys. When he was hired, he said that he wanted this program to be more of a blue collar program. And I think that really stood out on Saturday. Just that blue collar mentality, no matter how much you get down, just keep responding, keep fighting. And that's exactly what they did. So I'm encouraged. A lot of people might look at that and say, well, A&M should have never been in that position to start with. And that can be true also, right? They probably should have never been in that position. But I think it says more about their response to being in that position. I think Nate Borkacher, the transfer tight end, number 87, I think he has become one of my favorite players for Texas A&M, and he's only played 10 games for A&M. I think you can see it on the field. He's gritty. He likes to hit people. There in that second half, he was one of the guys who stood out to me the most, just putting his head down, putting the shoulder down, and running over guys. He had a receiving touchdown there in the second half from a throw by Marcel Reed, and I think Nate Borkacher for coming in, transferring in, and then just being as successful as he has been for Texas A&M. Kind of just his attitude, I think that he plays with, and you can just see it. Obviously, I don't know the guy, I don't know him personally, but you can just see he's a football guy, and he's just fully embraced this Texas A&M culture, and I think he just embodies kind of what Texas A&M wants to do as a football team. Just be kind of gritty, put your shoulder down, and just get to work. Another thing that's been really cool and really impressive to see since Mike Elko has been the head coach is just these young guys. These young guys stepping up. We saw Isaiah Williams step in for Mario Craver there in the second half. Mario Craver, he's been a superstar this season. Unfortunately, he got nicked up a little bit, wasn't able to go in the second half. So Isaiah Williams comes in, gets the first touchdown of the day for A&M to make it 30-10. And then EJ Smith, he's more of a veteran presence as well, but he's just been a really complimentary back this season for A&M. He's waited his turn, and he's played some really good football and taken advantage of every single opportunity that he gets. And then obviously Ashton Bethel Roman, we talked about him a lot in the preseason, talked about his speed, talked about his emergence. There was a lot of rumors coming out of fall camp, and he's really come onto the scene in the last five games or so, and had another phenomenal day on Saturday. So just to see these guys step up and just really develop, I think that's something we haven't seen from A&M players or from A&M in a long time at a consistent level. And obviously this is, just year two, but we're starting to see some development and some consistency with these guys. And it's just a next man up mentality, and they're able to answer the call. Now moving into Saturday, now you get a game where if you're Texas A&M, you should take care of business, to keep this thing going in the right direction, as Coach Elko would say. So looking at this game, Texas A&M, one thing that stands out for me is Texas, A&M, they lead the country in sacks up to this point of the season. And then Samford, the Bulldogs, they are dead last in FCS in sacks allowed. So it could be a really long day, could be a really good day for Texas A&M defensively. But once again, as I said, there are no guaranteed wins in college football. A&M has to show up on Saturday. I know some people might look at this game and brush it off the shoulder a little bit, but I think as soon as you do that, or if that mentality even attempts to creep into the locker room, um, the worst case scenario could happen. So looking at this game, just another opportunity to get better, another opportunity to just play Texas A&M football, and just play complementary football with each other, which is something we've seen from Texas A&M so far this season. Things that I'm looking for from A&M, I think one, dominate the trenches, both sides of the ball. I think A&M offensive on the offensive line and the defensive line just take over, be in control. Uh, there's a lot of good things that can come from just dominating the trenches, and I think everything else will kind of follow. And then obviously focus. It's really easy to lose focus. And I think A&M learned from last Saturday what can happen when you lose focus. And then, as I said, stay in control, play clean football, and then I think start fast and get off the field defensively. And then I think my bonus wish, I'm hoping the starters after half don't have to play, and they can just rest up for the Lone Star Showdown on Thanksgiving weekend. So, yeah, that's what I'm keeping an eye on. Samford, they're 1-9 on the season. They recently fired their head coach some weeks ago, and I think the message is clear. The message for A&M is simple. Elko said it last night, Wednesday night. He said, "I want us to handle the game how it's supposed to be handled and play to the standard that we have at Texas A&M. We need to figure out how to play our standard before we have to overcome things. That's our challenge." I really couldn't have said it better myself. Simple enough. Give me the Aggies to win Saturday 48-7. It's kind of funny. Las Vegas actually doesn't even do betting lines for these games. So kind of going in blind here. But I think if we're hoping for the starters to sit in the second half and rest, um, let some of these other guys get some work. Um, I don't really see A&M trying to run the score up real crazy there in the second half. Hopefully they're able to just get a nice lead before half and then just finish it out there in the second half. As I said, anything can happen. Nothing is a guarantee. So Texas A&M, they got to stay focused, show up, and just play Texas A&M football. So guys, that's what I've got. Once again, for those of you who have paid attention to the channel this season, thank you for continuing to do that. For those of you checking it out, please leave a comment below with your thoughts around Texas A&M. I'd like to hear what you guys think going forward as A&M looks to round out this season, as they look to move to 11-0 this Saturday. So yeah, just been a special year. So please comment below with your thoughts. And as always, gig 'em and God bless.